Hello everyone, Josh12 back here again with another video, and I'm here with another CW program review. Yes, I'm back on the TV couch to discuss another CW DC show. Last night was The Flash, now it's time to get in the world of Arrow. And of course, I'm here to give you my official review for Arrow Season 5, Episode 1, titled Legacy. And of course, if you've not seen the latest episode of Arrow, please go check it out because this review may contain spoilers. But that being said, let's get into the latest episode of CW's Arrow. Now, overall, like I stated in my previous review for The Flash, I pretty much have kept myself in the dark when it comes to all the CW programs and their upcoming seasons. I really don't really know that much for the upcoming season of Arrow. All I really do know is that Arrow will be focusing on a team of vigilantes. I guess Oliver will be taking up this mantle of being the superhero dad of all these shows. Kind of like what Wildcat was supposed to be back in the last Arrow Season 3, but in a different kind of way. And that's pretty much it. I really have no real knowledge of anything else other than there will be another crossover with the rest of the DC programs. And allegedly, Robert Queen and apparently Laurel will be coming back, I guess in their Earth 2 counterparts, because, it is what it is. You gotta, even in the comic book world, death really doesn't mean anything. So, and of course, the flashbacks will be focusing in Russia, and allegedly will be the last flashbacks of the entire series. So, if there's any supposed next seasons that will be promised to us, we will not be getting the flashbacks anymore. So this is going to be the last season of the freaking Arrow flashbacks, which is very interesting. I guess that was to come because before all the CW DC crossovers and all this crazy whackness that happened in the outcome of the Flash, Arrow was meant to be a 5-season run. This is kind of interesting. We finally reached the end game, I guess, for Arrow, and I can definitely say when it comes down to this episode, after watching it, I can say that this was an interesting premiere. Now, let me start with my positives because I definitely feel like it's a little too easy to knock on Arrow, so let's get into positives. Now, overall, the story was written by Greg Berlanti, and I think he did a pretty decent job. I mean, overall, there are certain points that feel kind of wonky. Maybe that has a lot to do with the fact that he has a lot of shit on his plate. He's dealing with more shows outside of the DC world. Not to mention he's writing and directing or possibly co-writing the Booster Gold movie that's not going to be attached to the DCEU. So there's a lot of wackiness going down at Berlanti's plate at this moment in time. However, the story that he kind of wrote out for this episode was pretty decent. It wasn't the greatest premiere storyline for an Arrow show, but at the end of the day, this is Arrow, and with most Arrow seasons, it definitely takes a while for the show to really find its groove, and it definitely will take several episodes to get there, but I think all in all, story-wise, it was a pretty interesting episode. Moving off of that, the action was really good. Overall, Arrow has always been pretty consistent in its stunt work, and Oliver Queen, and specifically Stephen Amell's portrayal as Oliver Queen, when it comes to his parkour. It's always nice to see him just kick some ass and do some really wacky shit. Really awesome there. In general, I feel like they kind of went overboard with the slow motion and special effects, but I think in certain areas, it definitely enhanced the scene of Stephen Amell's parkour sequences. I think they were pretty boss. I mean, like, to be honest with you, like I said, that would be saved for my negatives, but for the most part, I think there were really cool scenes there. I mean, like, in a world where Marvel's Daredevil is kind of taking the mantle, or the crown, if you will, of the best stunt work in a comic book forum, or a medium, Arrow is doing pretty decent job at this point in time. I mean, like, let's give them that. And of course, the Russia flashbacks. In general, ever since Season 3, I've always had a problem with Arrow not really sticking to the island storyline. I really enjoyed the island adventures back in Season 1, and especially in Season 2. However, seeing as how the flashbacks in the island for last season really sucked a big bag of dicks. I can definitely say, like, as long as the flashbacks don't suck and they're a pretty interesting storyline, I really don't care where they are or what he does. That's all I can really say. And based off what we got to see, it was really nice. It was some really cool action scenes. We get to see Stephen Amell doing more parkour, action, kung fu, Street Fighter shit, and we got to see his Russian buddy come back, who we've not seen in, I want to say, in a good couple of seasons. So overall, all in all, those are pretty much my major positives. And of course, the acting performers. I mean, we've lived and got to watch these characters grow over seasons past, and to see where they've come and their talent and the way they develop, they still are pretty consistent. It's always nice to see Emily come back as Felicity. Same thing goes for Willa as Thea, Stephen Amell as Oliver. It's always nice to see these characters again, and how it just feels like another day in the life of these people who portray these characters. So all in all, those are pretty much my major positives. Let's move on to my negatives. Now, as it stands, I did state if Season 4 of Arrow sucked, I would not come back for Season 5. And I'm back. I'm here reviewing Arrow Season 5. And these negatives kind of make me not really justify my reasons as for coming back, because I do have a lot of them. Now, let me start off with the main villain. The villain of the week is this weird character that kind of feels like something ripped out of like a Sam Raimi Darkman movie, and I just really didn't buy into him. He felt very hokey, and granted, I like the actor. I mean, he was, hands down one of the best, characters from The Walking Dead. However, based off what we got to see from him, he just wasn't really that interesting of a villain. He was very hokey and cheesy and stupid, and it's kind of odd to see where his plans lie. Secondly, the story and the way it transitions from point to point. It really felt like Greg Berlanti was really trying to go into very interesting areas. However, a lot of that was bombarded with possible rewrites or CW notes, because every time we get to an interesting point of view from a character, we get a whole bunch of nonsense that doesn't mean anything or add anything to the story. And a lot of that has to do with Oliver and Felicity's relationship. I've never been a big Felicity fan, and I do beg and thank the Lord's Almighty for making sure that Felicity is a done deal in this season. Of course, things will change. I mean, their relationship's always been on and off in this series, so things could happen, but at this point in time, I don't really care who they're dating. As long as they're just a working partnership / friendship, I'm okay with that. However, the way they kind of shoehorned it in was just very annoying. I mean, like, who really cares who Felicity's fucking in the site? Who really cares? I mean, Oliver, he's banged every single hot chick, exception to his mother and sister on this fucking show. Does it really matter who he's dating? No. So why does it matter? And also, the Anarchy thing. I don't know why, but I feel like, didn't Anarchy die last season? I could be wrong about that. Some hardcore Arrow fans who are very knowledgeable of the previous season, please, in the comment section below, let me know. But I'm pretty sure Anarchy died. I really don't remember, because we got to see him in the opening Arrow street fights, and it was just really odd to see that character come back. On top of everything else, the thing that really bothered me as well, that's a major negative with the episode, has to be the Laurel stuff. I really liked what Laurel became and what she was and how she was used last season on both Arrow and The Flash. And to see her go is sad. However, I do like the fact that the story in the season is trying to live up to the legacy of that character and what she stood for, because even though we may not love the way she's been portrayed on the show in every season, Black Canary at her core is a legacy character, and she's meant to be portrayed by multiple people. Granted, that could change because of the whole Earth 2 Laurel Black Siren shit that could happen in the possible crossovers, but as it stands, it would be nice to see an actress come in and to take that mantle. I don't know who's worthy at this point in time, but it would be nice to see that. And I didn't like the fact that Oliver, over the course of the episode, was very much counterproductive towards that. At the end of the episode, he discovers the fact that he must adjust his life to the way it is now. Season 4 ended off in a very divisive kind of way. At least for me. As a fan, I felt very indifferent with the finale. It didn't really feel like an epic like The Flash or Daredevil, where it's like, holy shit just went down, WTF everywhere. But with Arrow, it just felt like, okay, well, we beat the villain, the heroes won, And there we go. We just stand here and look at shit. We're done. And that's kind of like how it ended. It just felt like a very melancholy kind of ending. It's just, here's the done deal. Here it is. It's done. Everyone's gone. Everyone's doing their own thing. No, there's no real mixed feelings or harsh feelings that are hurt. It's just, this is our lives now. And it was a very divisive ending. At least for me, it just didn't feel that compelling a finale for me. And transitioning into this new season, Oliver is dealing with the fact that he's on his own again. However, Felicity's trying to get new recruits to join Team Arrow. However, Oliver wants the old Team Arrow to come back. And I just, as much as I like those story side points that Greg Berlanti was going for, a lot of it just felt interrupted with nonsense. And the biggest thing was the Laurel shit. I mean, like, if her last, will and testament was for someone to take on the Black Canary mantle, why make sure in your plan for getting Diggle back or getting Thea back, getting the band back together, why ruin it by not bringing someone else in? Granted, that changes in the end of the episode, but it was a hard road to get there, and that's the thing that really bothered me. Everything else was pretty much just okay. Another real interesting side point that was a part of the story of the newest season was the whole Oliver killing thing debacle again. Overall, in the course of the episode, Oliver is killing again, and it's not that big of a deal because the character of Oliver Queen has killed before, and he's been known to be a killer within the Arrow series. However, he's in this new world where superheroes are kind of like designed not to kill anymore. It's kind of weird that they kind of reverted back to that. And I really enjoyed Thea. It's kind of like the best scene that Willow Holland probably has in the entire series at this point in time, or at least in this episode. Let's not get crazy. But she gives this really wonderful line where it's like it's a step backwards. And I like that. However, the thing that bothered me was Oliver's approach and, I guess, response to it. And I don't know if the whole scene or story point was like Greg Berlanti's social commentary on vigilante superheroes of today, especially in a post-Batfleck world where Batfleck was majorly criticized for his killing in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. It kind of feels weird. It kind of feels weird overall that Greg Berlanti would go that route, and I don't know. I really would like to know. It would be interesting if that was his approach the whole time, which was to do a social commentary on that, where it's like when a superhero goes rogue and does these kind of things, it is really stupid. It is going backwards for everything you fought for and if kind of lived up to at this point. So that was very interesting. Everything else I like. I think it's kind of cool to see Team Arrow kind of find a new Team Arrow. It kind of has this weird like Dark Knight meets Batman Incorporated. I mean, like, granted, Arrow and Batman have had comparisons since season 1, so there's nothing new when comparing the two, but I like the fact that they kind of have taken this approach where in Dark Knight, Batman recruits a lot of characters to join in his forces, and then in Batman Incorporated, he's using kind of like this new league or army of Batmen to take over, I guess, crime in the world. So it's kind of cool that Arrow's kind of going with this approach over the course of the season, and I like to see more of that. But at the end of the day, that's pretty much been my major thoughts on the Season 5 premiere of Arrow. It was alright, nothing really crazy. There were some cool things, some cheesy things, as always. If there's anything that really bothered me was certain side points that took away from the more interesting story points. The Felicity character, I don't know why, but Candace Penn has been kicking Emily's ass when it comes to the moral compass chick of both superhero shows. I don't know why, but like Iris West at this point in time is a way better moral compass, which is baffling to me, seeing as how I love Felicity, but I don't know. Did anybody really feel that Felicity was necessary in this episode? At least in my opinion. She kind of just felt like a nuisance in this episode. I mean, I'm just saying, if Willow Holland, if the character of Thea can come off as a more interesting moral compass character than the character of Felicity, that's saying a lot. So I don't know what the heck's going on. I feel like there's a lot of potential in a lot of areas and there's a lot of missed potential. But at the end of the day, it was a decent episode. Nothing too crazy, but it was an okay episode. So overall, my final verdict for Arrow Season 5 Episode 1, Legacy, has to be a solid 7 out of 10. It was okay, it was definitely not on par or as good as the Flash premiere last night, but it was still a pretty decent Arrow episode, and I definitely am interested to see the rest of the season, especially this new villain that's come onto the scene. And no, I'm not talking about the Walking Dead guy. I'm talking about the other guy who looks like freaking Arrow, but with a cheesier mask. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And also, Greg Berlanti, if it was your intention, I really appreciate the social commentary you're doing with Batfleck and Arrow on the show. Really nice touch there. But at the end of the day, that's been my personal thoughts on Arrow. Let me know what you personally think about the Season 5 premiere in the comments section below. And of course, my personal thoughts. If you differ with them, please let me know as well in the comments section below. But overall, my final verdict stands as a solid 7 out of 10. And let me know what you think. Also, on a side note, this week and next week might be a very iffy situation with my channel. There is some hardcore hurricane situations that are going down that have reached dangerous levels apparently, so making videos and getting them uploaded to my channel may be a very sticky situation, so definitely stay tuned to my channel to see what happens. But next week for sure I'll definitely be back for the Supergirl premiere and the Legends of Tomorrow premiere, so stay tuned to my channel for all things DCCW reviews. Shameless plug time. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh12. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, and hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been Josh12.
My name is Oliver Queen. For 5 years, I was stranded on an island with only one goal: bring down those who are poisoning my city. To do this, I must become someone else. I must become